All right, mate. How are we looking?
Oh, not so bad. Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, sound.
Excellent. Right.
What's happening?
Well, you've been to Morris Lubricants in Shrewsbury.
I have once or
You've seen
twice,
how we
mate.
make the oil. Absolutely once or twice, exactly. So now we're going to look at the oil is used.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be looking at the passenger car market.
Go on.
And specifically engine oils, okay? Well, there's different generations of engine oil. So if you look back over the last 40 years, the changes in engine design for the passenger car has changed quite dramatically. Probably more so in the last 10 or 15 years, really.
Go on.
With emissions legislation.
When did we first start seeing multigrades?
Well,
used to
multigrades,
have
well,
winter
they
oil
first
and summer-
appeared
and
back in
summer oil.
the early 1960s.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the first 2050 appeared all the way back then. But a lot of the
And
technology...
before then, we was putting winter oils in.
Aye, absolutely. It was a seasonal oil change, yeah. So thinner oil, monograde in the winter.
Go on, what's the difference? What would you have? What weight would you have in the winter compared to the
30
summer?
grade, 20, 30 grades back in the day.
In the summer?
That'd be in the winter.
Right.
Okay, and then in the summer, you'd go for a thicker monograde
Yes.
to keep your oil pressure up, basically.
Yes. Go on, what sort of things? A
was-
20, 30 in the winter?
Yeah, well, it'd be a 20 or a 30 grade in the winter, a
Go on.
40 or 50 grade in the summer.
Right,
basically.
okay.
But then the multigrade came out. But back then, engines were quite simple still. But it's only really during the sort of late 1970s.
What do you mean? The same engines?
Yeah, but it's all the modifications. A lot of it for...
Some squeeze bang blow still.
Yeah, it is.
You know
Yeah,
what I
the
mean?
basics the same.
Nothing's changed, has it?
But
Really?
you look at EGR came along.
Yeah.
Then you had turbocharging.
That's everything after the engine, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? Everything.
But
The engine hasn't changed.
The engine hasn't changed, but the bolt-ons and the modifications for fuel efficiency and increased power output has put a demand on the lubricants, which weren't there originally.
Go on.
Those old monogrades wouldn't do the job now. So say, you've seen the advent of EGR, turbocharging, variable valve lift technology. And then, of course, you've got all the things such as diesel particulate filters fitted now.
We know about them, mate.
Gasoline particulate filters.
When did we first start seeing EGR systems then?
EGR was it was around sort of like 70s,
You'd see EGR in the 70s?
There's some manufacturers put their heads above the parapet and they came out with variable valve lift and EGR and turbocharging.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is now sort of mainstream technology for most manufacturers.
How many mainstream cars have been naturally aspirated now?
Oh, not many.
Everything's turbocharged, isn't it?
Turbocharged or supercharged, yeah. The
small engines, turbo.
It's all about getting caught out of a pint pot now, as you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, the cars we've got behind us today. So obviously we've got a 1990s T5.
That's turbo.
Turbo, yeah. That was multi-valve. I mean, of course, before we had multi-valve, of course, it was one inlet valve, one exhaust valve. Now, it's 4 valves per cylinder, so we never had that. So that kind of increased demand has put a different stress level on the lubricants. And of course, as we've moved from the 1990s to the BMW behind you, which is 2014 plate, there's a massive amount of technology on that, in the space of a short number of years, really.
Go on.
So now we've got something that's bi-turbo, there's 2 turbos on there, it'll be DPF, it'll be AdBlue technology in there. So there's a massive increase, and of course power output, huge as well. This is a 3-litre diesel.
Right.
But all those sort of stresses and demands put upon the lubricant means the lubricant technologies had to evolve with the engine technology as well.
Okay, right.
So those simpler days, the 1990s, this would be on a sort of a 10W40 engine oil, for example, quite nice, simple kind of formulation.
Okay.
But now, certainly sort of the OEMs now have a bigger part to play, the original equipment manufacturers, so they have their own specifications.
Right.
So at one time it used to be a global specification. There still are global specifications, but the OEMs now put in their own sort of name to specification requirements.
And you've got to keep up with all of that?
Keep up with all of that, yeah. So,
You still make oils for OEMs, don't you?
We still have involvement with OEMs, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so... But
I know you do on the tractors and the trucks, but for cars as well.
Oh, cars. I mean, you'll see. I mean, there's a whole number of 5W30s, all different. Every OEM has a different little whistle and bell they want on there to protect their own particular vehicles.
If it's not the right one, they'll void the warranty.
Absolutely.
Something like that. Right. Okay.
But these vehicles, of course, these are out of warranty, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't treat them any less than if they were brand new. So, and maintenance and regular maintenance with the correct either replacement parts or consumables or lubricants is the way of keeping these on the road longer.
Penny wise, pound foolish.
Absolutely. Those T-shirts are coming, by the way.
Right,
I am having that. So it is important, even though this is nearly 10 years old, this BMW, and obviously the Volvo is over 25 years old now, really. Is to still service them with the correct lubricants. because that's what they would have had in when they came off the production line. And the engines haven't changed, so there's no reason why you should want to put a lesser quality lubricant in there.
No, of course not.
You still need to have that higher performance level, that sort of higher specification level, which is suited to these engines. So it's all about regular maintenance and proper maintenance, essentially. But the changes which are taking place are quite dramatic now with this particular market. So there are other episodes where we'll look at newer technology, but in this particular case, it's really making sure that people understand the importance of correct engine oil technology, even for these older engines, because there's still a whole host of things an engine oil's got to do. You know, you're talking about detergency for keeping the hot parts of the engine clean. Detergency is normally coupled with dispersancy, so all the things you wash, you clean off.
Go on.
You want to suspend those. So the dispersants disperses those bits and bobs in the lubricant, which as it travels to the oil filter takes out. So you need to be looking after all that. Anti-wear performance, especially on cams, anywhere there's a bit of shock loading going on and you can't get a good oil film established, and cams with the cam lobe slapping round, it can be supersonic speed, the tip of that cam lobe. You're relying on additive technology to stop metal-to-metal contact, so you have that in place. You have to make sure you have good, what we call total base number, which is the ability to neutralise harmful acids which are formed in the combustion chamber. Yeah, because even though we're on low sulphur fuels now and ultra low sulphur fuels, if you're burning fuel with sulphur in there, you'll get sulphurous and sulphuric acid formed, which are obviously corrosive.
Yes.
So the oil's got to be able to combat those as well, so it needs to neutralise the acids, because you don't want those getting down into the sun.
So it's not just the engine, they haven't changed, but the fuel that we're putting in them has changed. So we've got to change the oil and keep up with the oil to account for the modern types of fuel. Yeah,
I mean modern types of fuel are obviously a lot better than 20, 30 years ago, but there's still that side effect of potential acidic corrosion if you don't look after it.
Right.
So the oil's got to do that.
Even with the diesel, would you call it a better diesel now it's not got sulphur in it? I thought that caused more problems.
If you've got zero, well, this goes back to the old days, the way the old distributor pumps on diesels used the sulphur in there to lubricate them.
Yes.
But of course, we're now common rail. Common rail came through, so indirect fuel injection on diesels and port injection on petrols has now become direct injection. Yeah. So the common rail systems, of course, you're not relying on the sulphur because you don't have a distribution pump.
Okay.
It's all solenoid. It's all solenoid activated now. So, so you don't need that lubricity from sulphur anymore. So you can go to low or even zero sulphur fuels, but depending on where you are geographically, zero sulphur fuels may not be available. So, if there is sulphur in there, you need to combat the side effects of that potential acidic corrosion which can take place. So, because obviously you still need a good oil film for the bearings, under load when they're running. So there's a lot going on inside an oil formulation. So you have all the basics, but as I say, then you have all the whistles and bells on top of that for whichever OEM you're talking about. But it's still about picking the right oil, whether it's a 1996 or a 2014 model, because it'll keep it on the road for another 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm bearing in mind.
10 years out of that, I'm telling you.
Well, the average car on the road now in the UK is 10 years old.
The average car is 10 years old.
People are keeping their cars longer and longer now. They're not changing them every 2 or 3 years, which used to be the trend at one time,
Honestly, that's right. It is.
So people are hanging on to them longer. So it's even more important if you're hanging on to a car that you like, or for financial reasons you don't want to move on, is that you continue to service it correctly and with the right engine lubricant.
And it'll keep you right.
It'll keep you going, keep you going, absolutely. So that's another kind of change in kind of buying habits in the UK, is people aren't changing their cars every 10 minutes.
Hang on to them,
hanging on to them, of course, And with the uncertainty about emissions and banning of petrol and diesel cars and all this kind of.
They've shifted that on now. It was 2030.
They have moved it back.
2035 now, I think. But I'm sure that'll get.
And Europe's relaxing its view on it. In fact, in Europe now, they're not even talking about banning ICEs, internal combustion engines.
There we go.
Just the fuel that goes into them.
So it would be synthetic fuels and that sort of paper.
Yeah, because as somebody quite rightly said, there's nothing wrong with an internal combustion engine, just the fuel that it burns.
Exactly.
And that. It's a mechanically sound piece of engineering, but
it is.
if you can get it to burn a different fuel, which is either zero, it's...
it's fantastic, that's fantastic, and I'm all for it.
Carbon
but
zero,
but really, nothing beats an electric motor. The only problem with an electric motor is what we're going to feed it with.
Yeah, because the other temptation, of course, is when a vehicle goes out of warranty, is to go to a cheaper oil. You know, because oh, it's an old car now, there's wear and tear on it. Let's go to a cheaper oil and save some money. But that is a false economy. You know,
it'll cost you in the end.
Yeah, because especially up to that time you've been maintaining that vehicle, you know, as scheduled by the manufacturer. Why move to a cheaper oil? And of course, if you do
anything,
that,
it needs the better quality stuff the older it gets.
And that will just cause its early demise by moving to a cheaper oil. You know, as you say, you know, what's it, penny
wise, pound foolish,
exactly
mate.
Right.
Because you just got to try and put off the inevitable, which is getting to the scrapyard. But you've got to try and put it off for as long as you can.
And like they always say, oil is cheap compared to metal. So you know, why would you bring on the demise of the engine quicker? So so cheap oils are not the solution to an out of warranty vehicle. Still use the OEM specified products.
100%.
So if you'd like to see any more content like this or videos with Guy, then visit our Morris Lubricants website or our YouTube channel.